The verdict of Exile. The final judgment. The Grand Chamber of Unity hung suspended in the blackness between stars, a monument to cooperation built by 73 civilizations across 10,000 years. Inside its crystalline halls, Ambassador Marcus Chen stood alone at the defendant's platform, watching as the galaxy's most powerful beings decided humanity's fate. His gray suit bore the silver emblem of Earth's United Nations, and though his hands trembled slightly, his voice remained steady as he delivered his closing statement. Around him, representatives from 73 species occupied their designated zones. Some floated in liquid-filled spheres, others perched on platforms of pure energy, and still more existed as patterns of light that defied physical form. The diversity was staggering, yet in this moment, they shared a singular purpose that filled Marcus with dread. Honored members of the Galactic Council, Marcus said, his words translated simultaneously into thousands of languages by quantum processors embedded in the chamber walls, humanity has fulfilled every obligation required of us. When we discovered faster-than-light travel and joined this great assembly 15 years ago, we came with open hearts and genuine desire for partnership. Every trade agreement has been honored. Every cultural exchange completed with respect. Every territorial boundary maintained without violation. A rippling creature from the Kelthran Collective interrupted, its body pulsing with angry crimson light. Yet you continue unauthorized military expansion. Our intelligence confirms 73 warships constructed in the past year alone, each equipped with weapons that violate Protocol 16 of the Non-Aggression Charter. Marcus felt his frustration rising but kept his tone calm. Those vessels are defensive frigates built to protect our colonies from pirate raids. The weapons you reference are standard plasma cannons, the same technology we purchased legally from the Vrenix Consortium. If you examine the actual specifications rather than the doctored reports someone has provided, you'll see we've remained well within permitted parameters. But the chamber's atmosphere had already shifted. Marcus could feel it, the decision made before he ever spoke. This trial was theater, a justification for a verdict already determined. High Chancellor Vexthor, a being of pure crystallized thought housed in a floating geometric structure, raised what passed for its voice. The evidence has been carefully reviewed by this Council's Security Committee, Vexthor announced, each word resonating with finality. Humanity's pattern of aggressive expansion, rapid militarization, and disregard for established protocols presents a clear danger to galactic stability. While we acknowledge humanity's contributions to art and science, we cannot ignore the threat your species represents to the peace we have maintained for 6 millennia. Marcus saw Admiral Sarah Rodriguez watching from the human observation gallery, her jaw clenched with barely contained rage. Beside her, Chief Scientist Dr. Amara Okafor shook her head slowly, understanding flooding her dark eyes. This wasn't about security or protocols. This was about fear. Humanity had advanced too quickly, achieved too much in too short a time, and the established powers felt threatened by potential competition. Therefore, Vexthor continued, we move to Resolution 7 Alpha 9, the expulsion of humanity from Galactic Council territories and the revocation of all associated rights and privileges. All in favor indicate now. The chamber erupted in light as voting crystals activated across 73 species. Blue for approval, red for rejection, amber for abstention. Marcus watched the colors cascade through the space like a terrible wave. Blow, blow, blow. The pattern repeated with crushing uniformity. Only 2 red lights appeared, from the peaceful Meraxi and the philosophical Torvians, species that had formed genuine friendships with humans. The resolution passes with 71 votes in favor, Vexthor declared. Humanity is hereby expelled from all council territories. You have 90 standard days to remove all citizens, installations, and vessels from our borders. Any humans remaining after this period will be treated as hostile invaders and eliminated accordingly. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. 90 days to evacuate 52 colony worlds, hundreds of space stations, and 7 million citizens scattered across council space. It was barely possible, and everyone in the chamber knew it. They expected humans to fail, to beg for extensions, to humble themselves before the powers that had cast them out. Marcus stood silent for a long moment, letting the weight of the decision settle. Then he straightened his shoulders, adjusted his jacket, and looked directly at Vexthor's crystalline structure. We will be gone in 90 days, he said clearly. Every human, every ship, every piece of equipment we can carry. You won't need to extend your deadline or offer your mercy, because we want nothing from you. History will remember this day, Chancellor, but not the way you think. You haven't eliminated a threat. You've created one. He turned and walked from the chamber without waiting for dismissal, his footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. The great exodus begins. Aboard the flagship Prometheus, Admiral Sarah Rodriguez coordinated the largest evacuation in human history. The ship's command center buzzed with activity as officers managed communications with dozens of colonies simultaneously. Holographic displays showed the locations of every human settlement in Council space, each one now counting down to the deadline. "Admiral, we have a problem at New Vancouver," her communications officer reported. "The Kelthran Collective has blockaded the planet and is demanding payment for the infrastructure we're trying to remove." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "How many people are still on New Vancouver?" 230,000, mostly terraforming specialists and their families. "Send this message to the Kelthran commander. We will leave the infrastructure. We take our people. If they interfere with civilian evacuation, they will discover why humanity built those 73 warships they're so concerned about." It was a dangerous bluff. Earth's fleet couldn't win a war against the Galactic Council. But the Kelthrans had to weigh whether some buildings and equipment were worth the political nightmare of killing human civilians during a sanctioned evacuation. 3 hours later, the blockade lifted. On the agricultural colony of New Harvest, Governor Elena Vasquez walked through the settlement she had spent 8 years building. The field stretched to the horizon, golden grain swaying in the alien breeze. The irrigation systems hummed efficiently, the storage facilities bulged with the season's yield, and the town square bustled with families preparing to leave everything behind. "Governor, the last transport arrives tomorrow," her assistant informed her. "We can take 15,000 more people, but that's our limit. The crops, the equipment, the livestock, it all stays." Elena nodded, fighting back tears. "Make sure every person gets aboard. The things we've built can be rebuilt. The people cannot be replaced." In orbit above the planet, Captain James Wu guided his massive colony transport, the Long March, through the crowded space lanes. His ship could carry 30,000 people in cramped conditions, and he had already made 4 trips to the rendezvous point beyond Council space. The logistics were nightmarish. Even with every available vessel working at maximum capacity, they were racing against an impossible deadline. "Captain, we're detecting unknown signatures at the system's edge," his tactical officer warned. 4 vessels, configuration suggests pirates. James swore softly. Word had spread quickly that humanity was vulnerable, distracted, desperate. Criminal elements throughout the galaxy saw an opportunity for easy prey. "Battle stations. Charge all weapons. Broadcast on all frequencies. Any ship that approaches this convoy will be destroyed. We are not in the mood for negotiations." The pirate vessels maintained their distance but didn't leave. They were waiting, watching, looking for a moment of weakness. James knew he couldn't let that happen. If they showed any vulnerability, every predator in the sector would descend on the evacuation fleet. 3 sleek destroyers burst from faster-than-light travel, their hulls bearing Earth's blue and white colors. Admiral Rodriguez had anticipated this problem and stationed warships at every major evacuation point. The pirates scattered immediately, unwilling to face military-grade weapons. Back on Earth, President Yuki Tanaka addressed the world's population via global broadcast. Her silver hair was pulled back severely, and exhaustion lined her face, but her voice carried absolute conviction. "My fellow citizens," she began, "we face the greatest challenge in human history. The Galactic Council has cast us out, forced us from our homes in the stars. They did this because they fear what we represent, a young species with unlimited potential, unburdened by their ancient prejudices and stagnant thinking. But we will not break. We will not beg. We will leave their territory as demanded, but we do not leave as defeated refugees. We leave as pioneers, as explorers, as the architects of our own destiny. Our scientists have discovered stable passages through the Void Nebula, leading to unexplored regions beyond the galactic rim. There we will build something new, something greater than anything we left behind. To every human in Council space, we are coming for you. Every citizen, every family, everyone will be brought home. And to the Galactic Council we say this: you have made a mistake that will echo through history. You haven't eliminated a threat. You've freed us to become something you cannot imagine. Discovery in the darkness. Dr. Amara Okafor worked frantically in her laboratory aboard the research vessel Archimedes, analyzing data from the deep space probes sent beyond the Void Nebula. The nebula was a massive cloud of ionized gas and spatial distortions that had hidden an entire region of space from standard surveys. Her team had found safe passages through its dangers, but more importantly, they had found what waited on the other side. "The readings are incredible," she told Marcus Chin during a secure communication. We've detected 78 potentially habitable systems, massive asteroid belts rich with rare minerals and something else. Structures. Ancient artificial structures that predate any known civilization. Marcus leaned forward intently. How ancient? Millions of years, possibly tens of millions. Someone built a vast network of facilities out there, then vanished. If we can access their technology, study their remains. She paused, the implications overwhelming. Marcus, this exile might be the greatest gift humanity ever received. As the evacuation continued, transport ships began making the journey through the Void Nebula to the new territories humanity was claiming. The passage was dangerous, requiring precise navigation through corridors of stable space between deadly radiation zones and gravitational anomalies. But human pilots, trained in Earth's most challenging environments and augmented by cutting-edge neural interfaces, navigated the route with growing confidence. On day 87, Governor Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the final transport leaving New Harvest. She watched through the viewscreen as the planet shrank behind them, her 8 years of work abandoned to whatever species claimed it next. But instead of despair, she felt something unexpected: anticipation. They were heading toward something new, something unbound by the Council's restrictions and bureaucracy. "Governor," her pilot said softly, "we've just received confirmation. All colonies evacuated with 0 casualties. We beat the deadline with 3 days to spare." Elena smiled for the first time in months. They had done the impossible. 7 million people relocated across thousands of light years in under 90 days. The Galactic Council had underestimated human determination, organization, and sheer stubborn refusal to accept defeat. On day 90, exactly at the deadline moment, Admiral Sarah Rodriguez broadcast a final message from the edge of Council space. "This is Admiral Rodriguez of Earth's United Fleet. All human personnel and assets have been removed from Council territories as demanded. We leave you to your galaxy. We will forge our own path among the stars you were too afraid to explore. Do not follow us. Do not contact us. We want nothing from you except to be forgotten." The massive fleet, hundreds of vessels ranging from tiny personal craft to enormous colony ships, turned as one toward the Void Nebula. They entered the swirling clouds of purple and gold, disappearing from Council sensors and passing beyond the boundary of known space. Behind them, the Galactic Council congratulated themselves on eliminating a potential threat. They returned to their comfortable routines, their ancient protocols, their stagnant civilizations, completely unaware that they had just made the greatest strategic mistake in galactic history. Ahead, beyond the nebula's concealing clouds, lay humanity's future. A future built not on someone else's permission, but on their own strength, ingenuity, and unwavering determination to thrive wherever the universe placed them. The exile was complete. The transformation had just begun. Rise of the Terran Dominion. 5 years of transformation. Commander Lisa Park stood on the observation deck of Horizon Station and watched construction drones assemble the 5th orbital shipyard around the planet humanity had named New Earth. The world below rotated slowly, its continents already dotted with cities that grew larger each month. 5 years had passed since the Exodus, and what began as desperate refugee camps had transformed into thriving metropolises that rivaled anything in Council space. The transformation still amazed her. She remembered the early days, the struggle to establish basic infrastructure, the rationing of food and water, the uncertainty about whether they could actually survive out here beyond the galactic rim. But humanity had not just survived. They had flourished in ways no one predicted. "Commander, the survey team is returning from the precursor facility on Titan III, her assistant informed her. Dr. Okafor says they've made a breakthrough. She wants to brief you immediately." Lisa made her way to the research wing, passing through corridors lined with laboratories where humanity's best minds worked on projects that would have been impossible under Council oversight. No restrictive protocols here, no bureaucratic delays, no technology sharing requirements that always seemed to benefit older species more than humans. In Exile, human innovation had exploded. Dr. Amara Okafor's laboratory looked like organized chaos. Holographic displays showed complex mathematical models, pieces of alien machinery covered every surface, and her team of 30 scientists worked with intense focus. Amara herself, now 52 with gray streaking her black hair, practically vibrated with excitement. "Lisa, we cracked it," Amara announced without preamble. "The precursor manufacturing systems. They can produce materials at the molecular level, perfectly structured, stronger than anything we've ever created. But that's not the exciting part. She pulled up a holographic model of a drive system that looked nothing like standard faster-than-light technology. Their propulsion method is completely different from what the Galactic Council uses. It's more efficient, faster, and leaves almost no detectable energy signature. If we can adapt this to our ships. She paused dramatically. Lisa, we could build a fleet that moves like ghosts and hits like thunder. Lisa studied the designs carefully. The implications were staggering. How long until we can produce a working prototype? 6 months for a test model. Another year for full fleet integration. But there's more. Amara's expression grew serious. The precursor civilization didn't just disappear. They were destroyed. We found evidence of massive battles, weapons that could shatter planets. They fought something, Lisa. Something that scared them badly enough to build an arsenal capable of ending worlds. Do we know what they fought? Not yet. But whatever it was, they lost. Lisa left the laboratory with her mind racing. Humanity had found ancient technology that could give them military superiority over the Galactic Council. But they had also found evidence that this region of space once hosted a civilization-ending conflict. Both facts needed to be reported to the Terran Dominion Council immediately. Building a new civilization. The Terran Dominion had formed naturally from necessity. Without the Council's structure to rely on, humans had created their own government, one that blended democratic principles with the harsh pragmatism required for survival on the frontier. President Alexandra Reeves, formerly a colony administrator, now led a civilization of 15 million people spread across 28 settled worlds. In the Dominion Council chambers on New Earth, she listened to reports from representatives of each colony cluster. The news was consistently good. Food production had reached surplus levels on the agricultural worlds. Mining operations in the asteroid belts were extracting resources faster than expected. The population was growing not just through births but through the development of advanced cloning and genetic enhancement technologies that Council regulations had previously forbidden. Madam President, spoke Governor Chin Wu from the industrial colony of Forge, we've completed the first battleship using precursor-enhanced hull materials. The testing exceeded all projections. The armor can withstand directed energy weapons that would vaporize standard alloys, and the power requirements are 40% lower than our old designs. Excellent work, Governor. How quickly can we produce more? We have capacity for 12 ships per year at current production levels. With expanded facilities, we could triple that within 18 months. Alexandra nodded approvingly. She had pushed hard for military development, knowing that humanity's isolation wouldn't last forever. The galaxy was too dangerous to remain unprepared, and the Galactic Council's decision to exile them had taught a harsh lesson. Strength was the only guarantee of survival. What about our intelligence network? She asked Director Hassan Khalil, who headed the Dominion's intelligence service. Hassan, a lean man with sharp eyes that missed nothing, brought up holographic displays showing data from deep inside Council space. Our agents report growing instability in the Council. Economic problems, territorial disputes between member species, and something new. They're calling it the Nexus Swarm, a machine intelligence that emerged from the galactic core. It's consuming everything in its path, converting organic matter and technology into more machines. The room fell silent. Alexandra felt a chill run down her spine. How close to Council territory? The swarm has already taken 19 Council systems. The attacks are accelerating. Council military forces are losing every engagement. Casualties are in the billions. And they haven't contacted us? Not officially. But we're detecting increased scanner activity along the boundary between Council space and our territory. They're watching us, probably debating whether to swallow their pride and ask for help. Alexandra stood and walked to the chamber's windows, looking out at the city below. New Earth's capital had grown from temporary shelters into a beautiful metropolis that blended architectural styles from every Earth culture with new designs inspired by their frontier experience. Her people had built something remarkable here, something worth protecting. If the Nexus Swarm destroys the Council, how long before it reaches us? At current progression rates, 5 to 7 years, Hassan answered. But if it consumes Council resources and technology, it will be exponentially stronger when it arrives. The strategic calculation was clear. Better to fight the swarm now, while it was smaller and while they could use Council forces as allies, than face it alone later when it had grown unstoppable. But the political calculation was more complex. The Galactic Council had exiled humanity with contempt and cruelty. Why should humans sacrifice their people for species that had shown them only prejudice? The decision. The debate within the Dominion Council lasted 3 days. Admiral Kwame Osei, who had rebuilt Earth's fleet into a formidable military force, argued passionately against intervention. "They would not help us," he said forcefully, his Nigerian accent thick with emotion. "If our positions were reversed, if we were the ones facing extinction, the Council would watch us die without lifting a finger. Why should we be different?" But Dr. Okafor presented a counterargument based on cold pragmatism rather than mercy. The Nexus swarm represents an existential threat to all organic life. If we allow it to consume the Council's territories and resources, we create a monster too powerful to stop. Better to fight it now with allies, even allies we despise, than face it alone when it has grown beyond defeating. Governor Elena Vasquez, who had lost so much during the evacuation, offered a different perspective. "If we help them, we establish humanity as the dominant power in the galaxy. The species that saved everyone else. That gives us leverage for the future, a position of strength we could never achieve otherwise. This isn't about mercy or revenge. It's about building the future we want." President Reeves listened to every argument, considered every angle, and finally made her decision. "We help them. But we do it as equals, not as subordinates. The Terran Dominion remains fully independent. We fight the Nexus swarm as allies, not as returning members of the Council. And we command the combined military effort, because our technology and tactics are superior to theirs." The announcement sent shockwaves through the Dominion. Some celebrated the opportunity to prove humanity's worth. Others protested risking their lives for species that had cast them out. But Alexandra's leadership had earned deep trust, and most accepted that she had made the right choice for the wrong reasons they wanted but the right ones they needed. When the Galactic Council finally sent their delegation, led by High Chancellor Vex Thor, they arrived in Council space expecting to find struggling refugees grateful for any assistance. Instead, they discovered thriving colonies, advanced technology, and a military force that made their own fleet look obsolete. The meeting took place aboard Horizon Station. Chancellor Vex Thor's crystalline structure pulsed with colors that human xenobiologists had learned indicated distress and confusion. Beside the Chancellor stood Ambassador Marcus Chen, now aged but still serving as humanity's primary diplomat. "President Reeves," Vex Thor began, its translated voice lacking its former arrogance, "the Council faces destruction from the Nexus swarm. We have exhausted our strategies and resources. We come seeking assistance from the Terran Dominion, and we acknowledge that our treatment of humanity was unjust and born from fear rather than reason." Alexandra kept her expression neutral. "You exiled us, forced us to abandon our homes, sent us into unknown space expecting us to fail and die. Now you want our help because your own survival is threatened. Why should we care what happens to you?" "Because you are better than we are," Vex Thor said quietly, and there was genuine regret in its tone. "Because humanity has always claimed to value mercy and justice over revenge. Because despite our failures, the Nexus swarm threatens all organic life in the galaxy, including eventually your own people. What do you offer in exchange? Full restoration to the Council with enhanced status. Access to all territories and technologies. Formal apology for the exile. Whatever you require." Alexandra glanced at Marcus, who gave a slight nod. They had discussed this extensively. The Council's offer meant nothing compared to what the Dominion had built independently. But it would be useful for the future to have formal recognition of humanity's equality, or better yet, superiority. "The Terran Dominion agrees to help defeat the Nexus swarm," Alexandra announced. "But understand these terms clearly, we remain fully independent. We do not rejoin the Council. We fight as allies with Admiral Osei commanding all military operations. Your forces follow our orders without question, or we withdraw immediately. Is that acceptable?" Vex Thor's crystalline structure flickered with colors indicating resignation and grudging respect. "Yes, we accept your terms. Then we begin immediately. Admiral Osei has been studying the swarm for 3 years through our intelligence network. Our fleet is already positioned to strike. Prepare your forces to follow our lead." As the Council delegation departed, Marcus approached Alexandra privately. "They have no idea what they've agreed to, do they?" "No," she replied with a slight smile. "They think they're getting help from the frightened refugees they remember. They don't realize we've become something entirely different. Something forged in exile, strengthened by hardship, and armed with technology they can't match. When this is over, when we've defeated the swarm, what then?" Alexandra looked out at the stars, at the territory humanity had claimed and developed beyond the galaxy's edge. "Then the universe learns a new truth. Humanity doesn't need anyone's permission to be great. We don't need to be accepted or approved. We built an empire from nothing and we did it without their help. The Galactic Council will spend the next 1,000 years regretting the day they cast us out. The combined fleet assembled at the designated coordinates. Council warships, hundreds of them, massive vessels built over centuries and proud of their histories. And alongside them, 40 Terran Dominion warships, smaller but radiating power that made the Council vessels look like antiques. Admiral Kwame Osei stood on the Prometheus Bridge, looking at the fleet displays and feeling something he hadn't experienced in years: hope. Not hope for acceptance or approval from the species that had rejected humanity. Hope that humans could prove, definitively and permanently, that their exile had been the catalyst for transformation into something greater than the Galactic Council could ever imagine. "All ships report ready," his tactical officer announced. "Then let's show the galaxy what humanity has become," Kwame said. "All vessels engage faster than light drives. Next stop, the front lines of a war we're going to win." The fleet jumped to light speed as one, disappearing into the darkness and heading toward a battle that would reshape galactic civilization forever. Behind them, the Terran Dominion continued growing, building, and evolving. Ahead lay victory and the establishment of humanity's place not as exiles or refugees, but as the most powerful force the galaxy had ever seen. The exile was over. The Empire had risen. And the universe would never be the same.